Most photographers are realizing that shooting RAW files provides them with greater ability to control the quality of their images. However, in this video, I will not discuss why I think RAW is better than JPEGs. I simply want to show you that working with RAW files can be a quicker process than to shoot and work with JPEGs. Some of you have told me that this is impossible, that RAW files are enormous, and that it takes a very long time to do anything with them, so you simply reject them. This is not necessarily true, and you shouldn't reject RAW files. In this tutorial, I'll be using images I shot for a price catalog cover. So let's take a look. Once I'm done with a shoot, I plug my little card into a card reader, and then I bring up Bridge. I use Bridge for all of my assets on all of my computers. And I use Bridge obviously to bring my photos into it by clicking on Get Photos from Camera. I also use Bridge to assign metadata keywords, and I have this one here selected. I can click on metadata, and then here I can see my keywords, but I don't have any keywords assigned yet. Metadata also tells me all the information about my image that I have selected. Here I can create collections. I can also export all of my images to Facebook, Flickr, Photoshop.com, or I can export them to a drive. Let's go back. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to narrow it down. I only need a few pictures for this price catalog. So I'm going to go through all the pictures, and I'm going to find one that I like the most. So let's go through it real quick. Maybe this is one of the pictures that I can use. So I'm going to label it. I'm going to right click on it and then click on Label, and perhaps I'm going to select Review. And notice the color right here, and it also shows up under Filter, and then here it says Review, and it tells me that I have one picture selected. If I click on that, it's only going to show me that one picture instead of all of these pictures. So I'm going to go back to the pictures, and then I'll go through them. Let's see, maybe this picture is going to work, so I'm going to click Label and then Review. And perhaps this one, Label, Review. And let me go up here. I kind of like this one as well, so I'm going to do the same thing. Now I have all of these pictures, and I really want to focus on the pictures that I have selected. So I'm going to make sure that Review is selected, and it's only going to show me these pictures right here. If you have a lot more pictures than I do here, then obviously you would select a lot more pictures for Review or To Do. It's really up to you. So what I'm going to do, I can either bring all of these pictures into Camera Raw, or I can just work on one image, and then whatever I do to it, I'm going to apply it to the rest of them. So I'm going to open this picture in RAW. I can either double click on it, or I can right click on it and then click on Open in Camera Raw. Now what I'm going to do to this image is not really conventional. I'm going to make it black and white, and then I'm going to take all the contrast out. So I'm going to be doing all kinds of crazy things to it. And the great thing is, whatever I do to this image, whatever effect I create, I can simply save that effect by clicking on this little icon right here, and then I would click Save Settings, and then those settings would show up right here. And I have already created the look that I want for this image, and I named it Catalog Style, which I'm going to apply to this image. But before I start applying anything to this image, I just want to mention briefly, if you've never used Camera Raw before, I strongly suggest that you go through all the menus and that you see what they can do for you. For example, at the top, you have an important tool, which is the crop tool. You can also do basic spot removal in Camera Raw, and you can use the adjustment brush, which is one of my favorite tools, and this is something I'm going to cover in a future tutorial. But basically, you can select specific areas in your image, and then you can only adjust those areas. You can overexpose it, underexpose it, add contrast. Doesn't really matter, but this is not something I'm going to focus on right now, so let's go back. What I want to do is I want to convert this image to black and white. So I'm going to click on HSL Grayscale, and then I'll hit Convert to Grayscale. Now I'm going to go back to my basic panel, and I'm going to add some clarity at the bottom. And this is going to make my image pop a little bit more. Then I want to take out some blacks so I can make this image really flat. I'll take some contrast out as well, and then I'm going to make it a lot darker. The great thing is that we have curves right here, so I'm going to mess with my curves as well. And just to make this process a little bit quicker, I'm just going to apply that effect that I have created in Camera Raw and which I saved at an earlier time. So I'm going to go here and just click on this little label that I've created. And this is really what I wanted to do. This is not something you would want to do to your images, but for this catalog, this is what I have decided to do. Then I can save my image if I want, but I'm not going to do that. I can open it in Photoshop. I can cancel this, but that's not what I want to do either. So I'm just going to hit Done. And then I'm going to go back into Bridge and notice that my image has changed now. Now I want to apply that same thing to all of these pictures. And if you were using JPEGs, you would have to do this by hand in Photoshop. You would have to apply it to individual pictures, unless you're clever enough to bring your JPEGs into the Camera Raw dialog box, but that's something we're going to discuss in a different tutorial. Anyway, I'm going to select all of these pictures by hitting Control A or Command A if you're using a Mac. And then I'm going to right click and go to Develop Settings, and then I'll select Previous Conversion. And now that effect has been applied to all of my images. And let's say I want to go back to all the pictures that I took for this cover. I'll go back and I want to apply the same effect to all of these. I'll just do the same thing again. I'll select all of my pictures, right click on them, and then I'll go to Develop Settings, and then I'm going to select Previous Conversion. And now I've applied the same effect to every single picture, as you can see. From this point, I can save all of these pictures, and there are a few ways of doing this. You can select all the pictures and open them in Camera Raw. Then you can select all and go to Save Images, and then you can select your folder, or you can rename your files if you wish, and this is going to do your batch renaming here. It's a great option, but I really don't use it much at all. And then you can choose your extension. You can either save this as a DNG, JPEG, TIFF, or a PSD. There are a few more options here which I don't use much because often I save my files as a PSD when I work in Camera Raw. So I'm just going to cancel this, and then I'm going to cancel this because I'm not going to save this. I just wanted to show you how you can save it. But that's it. That's all you have to do. Providing that your lighting was consistent, you can only adjust one image, apply that same effect to every other image from your shoot, and then you would just bring it into Camera Raw and save the pictures, and you're done with the entire shoot. And this is great for portrait photographers who want to adjust their color. They don't have to do it to every single individual image. They can just do it to one image and apply it to everything else and save, and boom, they're done. And if you wish, you can bring it into Photoshop and then do some other work that you would usually do. Or you can go to Tools, Photoshop, and use the image processor to save and convert your images to JPEGs. There are other options here as well. You can do batching, you can do photo merging, merge to HDR Pro. Photo merging is one of my favorite options, and if you have Nix software filters, you can access them from here. And if you don't know what Nix software is, I really suggest that you check it out. You can create metadata template, edit metadata templates, and there's so much you can do in Bridge. I found out recently that a lot of people, a lot of my customers who come in, they really don't use Bridge, and I ask why, and they tell me it's because they don't know why. So I really suggest that everybody checks out Bridge and that everybody gives Camera Raw a try, because eventually everybody's going to be shooting RAW files, and you don't want to be left behind. I always tell my customers that JPEGs are for the web. And there are also people who constantly tell me that they just don't have enough room on their memory cards. Well, it's time to buy a bigger memory card, and there really should be no excuse since we're living in this digital world where we have a lot of storage, a lot of options, and it doesn't have to be that expensive. And if you're in this business, you can't allow yourself to be limited by a little memory card in your camera. So if you want to shoot RAW, yes, you need a larger memory card, but it pays off. It really does. So give RAW a shot and go to our blog. I'm going to be writing about this in detail. So I'll see you next week.